Next on Worcester News tonight, could Central Mass see another infestation of gypsy moth caterpillars this year? Local experts are weighing in. Plus, Worcester mail carriers are fighting to feed the hungry. Their annual food drive starts this weekend. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. It's the time of year where gypsy moth caterpillars are back, but will this year be worse than others? The small insects are starting to pop up across central Massachusetts, and one local expert says they just started hatching within the last few weeks. Our Brittany Schaefer joins us live now with the details. Brittany?
Well, Olivia, I have good news. The state's Department of Conservation and Recreation says the number of caterpillars this year will be down, and it's all thanks to a virus and fungus.
We've actually drilled holes and then we inject that with a systemic material.
Gypsy moth caterpillars have returned in central Massachusetts. Bartlett Tree Experts is helping this home in Shrewsbury fight back against the pest.
When the caterpillars go to feed on the leaves, they die. It's a very effective way to preserve a tree in a very environmentally sensitive area.
Local manager Julian Reese says the hairy insects returned last week and it's keeping the business busy.
We are fairly booked out with calls. We're stretched pretty thin and we're doing our best to keep up and to help as many people as possible.
Nicole Kelleher is a forester for the state's Department of Conservation and Recreation. She says the gypsy moth caterpillars hatch in early May, but the numbers shouldn't be as bad as the past couple of years.
In some areas we saw over 90% of the caterpillars die off from the entomophaga omega fungus and an NPV virus. But 90%, if you have 100 million caterpillars and 90% die, you still have 10 million caterpillars. So they still are out there this year.
And fewer caterpillars is welcome news to Sam Naloni, especially after last year's infestation.
Last year they were everywhere. They were in the trees, in my room for some odd reason. They were just everywhere you stepped, in my pool. There's no shade anywhere on this whole street. I hope they do not come, and if they do, they go away very, very quickly.
Reese says residents have limited time left to protect their trees from the caterpillars.
One of the greatest challenges is calling too late and the panic that causes.
Once you have the really big, noticeable, hairy caterpillars, it's too late to really treat for it.
Even though numbers are down, they are still out in central Massachusetts. I pulled these off of our Andy Lacombe after a baseball game in Boylston. And Olivia, if these were any larger like they will be in a couple weeks, I definitely would not be holding them.
Poor Andy. Thank you, Brittany. Switching gears now, the man charged with killing a Shrewsbury police officer more than 40 years ago is denied parole. According to the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, the parole board said Edgar Bowser lacked empathy and a sense of responsibility in the killing of Officer James Lonchiitis. Lonchiitis was shot in the heart in 1975 during a car theft. Bowser was granted parole in 2007 but sent back to prison in 2010 when he tested positive for cocaine. He can appear before the board again in 2020. Traffic is backed up in Worcester Wednesday afternoon when a truck rolls over. Worcester police were on scene as crews worked to upright the truck. It happened around 12:30 on Southbridge Street under I-290. Cars were able to go around the truck until traffic was cleared. No word yet on what caused the rollover. There are always risks when fighting a fire, but the Worcester Fire Department says vacant and abandoned buildings can be even more dangerous. This week is National Arson Awareness Week, and the focus is on reducing fires in vacant buildings. Our Chandler Walsh joins us live now to explain. Chandler?
Olivia, after the Worcester cold storage warehouse fire in 1999, where the lives of 6 firefighters were lost, the department has spearheaded efforts to plan when it comes to vacant buildings. Their efforts include regularly inspecting and marking them. Boarded up windows and red markings. It's a familiar sight for the Worcester Fire Department, who regularly inspect vacant buildings.
Make sure they're aware of them and kind of have a pre-plan in mind. Fire inspectors also go out, they'll look at them, they'll respond to any complaints about them being unsecured.
Deputy Fire Chief Martin Dyer says fires in vacant buildings can be more dangerous. He says the department marks the buildings if they could put firefighters at a greater risk.
If it's going to be a danger to our firefighters, if we feel like there's holes in the floors or there's deterioration of the foundations enough, or whatever the case may be.
Dyer says a fire in a vacant building can also be more dangerous to neighborhoods. He says they can take longer to put out and sometimes can only be fought from the outside.
In these close-knit neighborhoods where the close houses are right on top of each other, really big issues with exposure. And yes, if the fire can grow to that point where the house next to it catches on fire, now we have a much larger problem.
There were 2 vacant building fires in Worcester over the past year in the same neighborhood. The causes are still under investigation, but neighbors wonder if they're suspicious.
It just seems odd. How does a building catch fire where there's no utilities and there's no one living in them?
We've been keeping an eye out ever since because we really, everyone in the whole neighborhood suspects it's arson.
The fire department encourages people who live near vacant buildings to watch for unusual activity. The city's Quality of Life Task Force goes out into the community to help the homeless. They also look at abandoned buildings to make sure they're boarded up and no one is inside.
The city will take care of that. Even if somebody sees somebody in a building that we know that there shouldn't be anybody there, that's being reported and then that's being taken care of.
And Deputy Chief Dyer says the fire department wants people to be aware of what's going on in their neighborhoods. He says vacant buildings are susceptible to arson from people hanging around them or breaking in. Olivia.
Our Chandler Walsh reporting for us tonight. Thank you, Chandler. A human rights and disability city employee is honored for her work Wednesday. Dawn Clark is a disability intake worker in Worcester. She helped organize the city's Wheeling Through Worcester event, giving people a chance to experience what those in wheelchairs go through on a daily basis. Wednesday, she was presented the Eleanor Riik Service Award. The annual award is given to city employees who demonstrate outstanding service to the city and its residents.
She has done such a great job, and I'm so thrilled that she's being recognized. A lot of times you work for the city of Worcester for many, many years without any recognition. She definitely deserves it. She gets along with everyone. She pulls people together. She's just an amazing asset to the city of Worcester.
And the Public Services Division team of the Worcester Public Library was also presented the award. This weekend, postal workers will not only be dropping off mail, they'll also be picking up food. According to the U.S. Postal Service, their annual Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is one of the largest one-day drives in the country. Our Roslyn Flaherty joins us live now with more. Roslyn?
Olivia, last year they collected more than 75 million pounds of food and say this is an important time of year because kids are out of school for the summer. Norm LaFlash is delivering the mail, and on this day, the letter carrier is also dropping off blue bags along his route.
Hunger is a real issue in all of our communities.
It's part of the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive. Residents fill up the blue bags with non-perishables and leave them for mail carriers to pick back up on Saturday.
Have to feel good because you know that you're going to be helping a lot of people over this weekend.
Last year, Central Massachusetts collected more than 300,000 pounds of food. And LaFlash says all of the food collected will be distributed to food pantries in the area.
When you're giving food, you're helping somebody in your community, in your neighborhood. Somebody, it could be somebody next door.
Joyce and Stephen Kressler say they will have their blue bag filled and ready for LaFlash to pick up.
Terrific idea. There are so many people who may need food, and we have extra, and we'd like to be able to share it.
And LaFlash hopes this year they will collect more than ever before.
Fill up my truck. That's what I want. I want to finish the day and say, I've got no more room in here.
Now again, the drive is this Saturday, and LaFlash says to leave out your bags in the morning and says you can also bring your bags to your local post office. Roslyn Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A Milford teacher is thanking the teenagers who helped save his life when he suffered a stroke in front of the class. Abby Nisgoda was there for his reunion with the students today.
Everything was calm, and then I don't know if somebody said, "You are right."
They say you should listen to your teacher. But part of the reason Jack Candini is standing here outside Milford High School is because these 3 students refuse to listen to him.
Because it's easy to have an adult say, "Hey, I'm all right, I'm all right. Oh, gee, he must be all right, he said so."
And there was no easing off in their class last month when they noticed something was off with Mr. Candini. The substitute teacher who said he was fine but then started slurring his words.
And then everyone kind of got up and was like, Mr. Candini, are you okay?
I asked him what day it was, and he did not know at all.
I called the police, and then they came quickly.
I don't remember really any of that.
He may not remember it, but that quick thinking and call to police meant the world to the 71-year-old who used to coach the high school's hockey team and still plays. He'd suffered a stroke and spent days in the hospital where doctors told him the timing was everything.
They tell me, hey, it could have been catastrophic.
So this reunion may be the first time in his teaching career he's saying thank you for not listening.
Thanks again. Lucas, thanks again. Jordan, thanks again.
But students say they really owe him a thank you for teaching them a life-saving lesson.
When you see something happening out of the ordinary, don't be afraid to stand up and say something, because it could really change someone's life, just like we did in Mr. Candini.
For now, Mr. Candini is following doctor's orders and getting some much-needed rest, but he hopes to be back here substitute teaching as soon as he can. In Milford, I'm Abby Nesgo to Worcester News Tonight.
A dog in need gets a helping hand from a Mass State Police trooper. Police say they first got calls about the dog running down the middle of I-90 in Worcester this morning. Trooper Nick D'Angelo responded and luckily had some homemade deer jerky to lure the pup to safety. Dozer, the dog, is now safely back with his owner.